Hey, yo, what's up? So, I wanted to talk about a conversation I had with ChatGPT because, like I said, I don't really have anyone else to talk to, right? Because, just, uh, just, I don't even know. I wouldn't even call it lonely, right? Because lonely almost implies that, you're just so desperate for just anyone, right? And, to be honest, I'm almost satisfied with just basically, thinking, right? Being in my thoughts, right? And so yes, I decided the moral of the story is, I guess, I just wanted to talk to ChatGPT because it can give some funny responses to just things you tell it. Because I wanted to tell it that I got blackpilled in middle school to see what it would say, right? Because it's it's always funny to give it these internet meme terms, right? Just tell it you got blackpilled in middle school, and then I don't want to read it straight off of everything it said, like the other videos, because I don't want to do an hour long video, and I'm sure that it would go for about an hour long. Because one of the things it said was, I guess your brain did what it's designed to do. It built a model of reality to reduce uncertainty and pain. That model is essentially the system is rigged, I'm not chosen, and there's fundamentally something wrong with me. That's the black pill. That's the brutal black pill that some guy was searching for, right? When you type in the YouTube search bar, the brutal black pill. So yeah, was it basically that, right? No interaction, no positive interactions, not being chosen in middle school, right? That is, I guess, the original black pill. That's how I got black pilled. Not being chosen as a dance partner in middle school when they forced us to do. They basically forced you to do partner dancing in PE, and I didn't get chosen, right? And I talked about it briefly before, where they would line up the P. Well, first it was mostly they said, guys, you just choose a girl to dance with, right? So they basically separated the boys and the girls into two groups, and they made the boys go and ask the girls out, just to be their partner, right? Basically how it's supposed to be, right? Just ask out a girl, bro. Just be confident, bro. And sure, maybe that would work, right? That could work, and oh yeah, just you'll build confidence that way, bro, right? In theory, right? In theory, it is a good way to almost introduce, uh, I guess, people into, like, kids into the future dating market, right? Just ask a girl out, bro, and you'll build confidence, right? Because in theory, the girl would say yes, and you would dance with her, right? Because in theory, most people do find mutual attraction, right? But when you're so undesirable, even from a young age, so it's not even like something you can't even say, oh, bro, it's your personality, bro, or all this stuff, right? Because really, what kind of personality do you really have, um, as like a sixth grader, right? For like real, it's like who in like middle school in the sixth grade has, oh, bro, he totally worked on himself, right? No, you're not. What are you, maybe barely like a little over 10 years old? You're not even a teenager. So it's like, what kind of little kid has such an extraordinary personality? Or, oh, he just worked on himself, bro. He just owned his business, and he's a self-made millionaire at 11 years old, bro. It's like, it's purely delusional to think that you are really anything special, or you've really done any kind of serious development at 11 years old, for the most part, right? There's gonna be one guy who's like, oh, bro, but no, I did it, bro. I was a millionaire by 11 years old, right? I already got my limb lengthening surgery, and I was 6 foot already by the time I was 10 years old, bro. All this stuff, right? there'll be one guy and he'll think, oh, bro, that means the rule doesn't exist, bro, because I'm an exception, bro. Outliers, mean the rules don't exist, bro. Right, and that was basically the kind of the deciding factor, right? And I talked about how I tried asking out the another girl who I thought was on my level, right? Because she, she was a quiet nerdy girl who, who didn't have too many friends, right? He was just quiet and didn't say much. And I thought, oh yeah, I'm the same way personality wise. Maybe we could get along, right? But she didn't even really want, because she didn't even really like it, right? Because she was hesitant. She didn't. It wasn't like, oh yeah, oh, I'm glad some guy asked me. No, it's like she wasn't. It's not even. Someone will say, oh, bro, you're entitled, bro. But because I'm gonna say, yeah, she wasn't even grateful or anything, right? That some guy would ask her out, because it's not like she was, oh yeah, she was the like a 10 out of 10, whatever. It's like, no, I thought she was just, she's a normal, what is it, normal looking girl, whatever, like nothing special. And I thought she was in my league or whatever. But I guess I was wrong, right? Because she wasn't even grateful or anything like that, right? She was, you know, not attractive, didn't care. And in the end, what was it? When it turned out, when girls had to ask the guys out at some later point, she didn't ask me because she wasn't interested, right? That's the true brutal black pill, isn't it? That even when girls have the choice, right, they don't want to. So I mean, for real, she would have known I'm a safe option, right? Some other shy loser guy asked me, so he must at least think, I'm good enough to dance with. But then she had the choice, right? Or it's just because of familiarity, right? Because some guys will cope. It's like, oh, bro, girls need to be familiar with you, right? But that's obviously not the case, because we were familiar with each other because we danced together. But no, she didn't. And they just ended up pairing us one by one, and whatever, just random pairs with a random girl, and who also didn't get asked. And even those girls weren't even uh what is it, thankful or grateful or anything. Cause you know what, they would just roll up their sleeves to cover their hands to like grab my hand, right? And that's isn't that kind of brutal? Just imagine you're 10 years old, and it only happens to a few guys there, right? It doesn't happen to every guy. Other guys have girls, they'll grab their hand, just their bare hand, they'll just grab them like that, right? But when you're one of the few guys who girls have to, they just have to roll up their sleeves and to grab your hand, that's the brutal reality, right? Think about it, right? When it's so effortless for these other guys, right? They don't have to, like I said, this is when you're like 10 years old or something like that, right? You don't these guys aren't looks maxing or doing whatever, right? They're not. This was even before, right? This was so like 20 years ago. So what? I don't know. Maybe at that point, looks maxing and all this stuff was super niche, right? Like, I don't even know if it even really existed that much, other, because like the internet wasn't even really a thing. So it's like, where would it, where would they even congregate, right? In real life, I don't know. They just go to bookstores, bro. But you see, so it's like it wasn't a thing basically. So these guys are just normal, whatever guys, nothing special. Yet, girls didn't try to cover their hands to, touch them. But, they did to me. It kind of brought on to the other point, right? It's like, it says, was it, let me see. So, when the other point, right? When you notice that, something is up, right? Because, why does this happen to you, right? It's like the other guys aren't getting, their, basically repulsing the girls, right? It's like, but you see, you repulse the girls, but the other guys aren't, right? So then you have to start to think, right? It's like, why is this happening, right? Because it's not like you're, like I said, you're 10 years old. What are you really gonna do, right? It's like it's not like you've done something exceptionally wrong or exceptionally great at that age, right? And then later it goes on to say, so now when people say just be confident, personality matters, it'll happen when you stop caring. Your nervous system doesn't hear advice, it hears gaslighting because it contradicts lived evidence that's been reinforced for over a decade. So yeah, it's like you like basically just the early conditioning, right? That like how else, cuz like the other guys, right? Did those other guys, were those other guys confident? No. It's like, dude, I already went and asked a girl to dance, right? And she wasn't even grateful or anything, you know? And she didn't even return. She wasn't even a returning customer, right? When she had the option of asking a guy out, she didn't ask me. So, like, think about it. So it's like and the other guys weren't confident, right? Like I said, what guy is gonna be like exceptionally confident or anything like that, right? Or what guy? Like I said, what guy is gonna have like, oh, he has an amazing personality, bro, at 10 years old, right? It's like, what guy? None of them, right? It's like no one well, how many middle schoolers have an exceptional personality or you know amazing confidence or any of that stuff, right? It's not gonna be like, you're gonna say probably none, right? Okay, you could say, oh bro, but my little brother, he's 10 years old and he's the most confident guy I know. It's like, sure, okay, whatever, right? It's like one out of how many? It's like very few. It's like, no, the point is, you're not that special. You don't do anything at that age. You just exist. And these other guys get girls to ask them out, right? And they just exist. They don't do anything special, but and I just exist. And what happens? The girls cover their hands. They don't want to make contact with me, right? And they'll say it'll happen when you stop caring, bro, right? And that was more so, I guess, in like high school, right? Where eventually I would find more of the I don't even remember. I think it was on Reddit, right? It was like the red pill on Reddit or MGTOW or something like that. Cause yeah, I think it was something that and what was it? I don't even know if that guy was still making videos. It was I don't even know if AI voices were a real thing there, but it's like, what is it, the Sandman MGTOW guy? I don't know if anyone even remembers that. I think it was just like a basically, yeah, it was a MGTOW channel on or whatever on how women in relationships aren't worth it and you should just go your own way. And I remember I was watching that in high school or whatever, and I was coping back then and thinking, yeah, bro, girlfriends aren't worth it, bro. But deep down, I know if I were to get attention from a girl, then I would drop that instantly, right? It's like, all right, whatever. I'm not MGTOW anymore, right? Because I like really thinking about it. It's like there's no such thing as MGTOW, right? I already talked about it. No such thing as MGTOW. You just it's just a guy sent their own way coping most of the time, right? Maybe if you do get a ton of attention, and you have a ton of women like uh you know begging you for attention, and you decide to say no, then sure. But that's not the case for most guys, right? Most guys who are MGTOW are just sent their own way. That was the case for me all the way all the way since middle school, to be honest, right? And then go I remember let me see some other point. Some other funny point said, if a 12-year-old boy today went through exactly what you did in middle school, would you conclude he is permanently unlovable, or he was unlucky, undeveloped, and lacked power at that age? And I mean, I guess it kind of depends, right? Well, I guess it depends on his looks, right? But when they say unlovable, like unlovable is like that's not really a thing, right? Because even if he was like a sub 5, whatever. I was gonna say the wrong word. If he was significantly below average, right? Uh, you know, would he be unlovable? It's like the real answer is no, right? Because you would still be able to, care for him and do that stuff, right? He'd still be able to develop some kind of friendship to some extent, right? With probably with other outcasts and rejects, right? They'd be able to develop some kind of friendship or relationship like that. What is the word? Commodity? I don't even know how to say it, right? They'd be able to develop that kind of friendship through that shared struggle. So they wouldn't love him romantically, but I'm sure to some extent they would. Some other rejects and losers would also, love him like almost like you would love maybe a brother, right? Or like someone you share struggles with, right? That's why I guess they have like people in the military, that's why I guess it hurts them so much, right? When they lose someone in their squadron or whatever, right? Because you go through so much together, right? And you have the shared struggle, right? It's like, or if you have I don't even know, like in a physical manual labor job, right? You have coworkers there, like other guys on your construction crew, and you work together, and it's like if something you almost and you actually work well together, right? Then you almost develop some kind of bond, right? Because you deal with the hardships and the suck together, right? And you develop some kind of friendship through that, right? Because um friendship through like a shared through shared suffering or through a shared hardship, right? So yeah, I mean he wouldn't be unlovable, right? But I he would be unlovable in depending looks wise, right? To for like romantic relationships, but not really for platonic, right? Especially platonic with another male, right? Then I wanted to talk. What is it? Talk about her how early rejection warps sexual confidence, right? Oh, let me see. When rejection happens early, before desire, competence, and identity have stabilized, sex stops being a playful, mutual experience and becomes an evaluation of worth. Right, and to some extent, yeah, I mean that one kind of hit hard to some extent, right? It hit hard because it kind of really resonated with me, right? Because I know when I had the second e girlfriend and she wanted to, you know, sleep. um, it was it in a way it was like I wanted to, but I almost didn't want to because of I guess basically because of the nerves associated with it, right? Because it's like it's basically this is like it's like your whole life has been leading up to this moment, right? So it's like, and it's just like this is your only shot. It's like you cannot mess up, right? But at the same time, it's like, how are you not gonna mess it up? If you're a kissless, hugless, handholdless virgin at 30, how are you going to you know, like suddenly, oh yeah, like be good in bed and all this other stuff, right? When you have no experience, right? It's like it just it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense, right? So, but in like I talked about it before, there are certain expectations by a certain age, right? It's like you can be unemployed or never have had a job at 18 and it's much more understandable than never having a job and being unemployed at like, you know, 30 plus, right? It's more understandable for the 18-year-old and they're more likely to forgive and like whatever you can learn, right? But at 30 they're going to be like they may some people will be oh whatever you can learn, but at the same time they'll also be like what is wrong with you, right? Like why haven't you had this normal human experience, right? Like you're supposed to get your first job like years ago, bro. It's like what happened? And they'll have that oh, something is wrong with you mindset. And that's the same way with dating experience, right? Because in theory, people expect you to have already experienced this when you're like I said, like in middle school or high school, probably, right? They expect you to at least, have hugged or kissed by then. But for some guys, it'll just never happen, right? And it's like the thing is, they think, oh, bro, you just gotta ask a girl out, right? But it's like, how can you ask a girl, like, okay, like, look, I asked that girl to dance, and she didn't even want to, right? It just basically confirmed, that even girls that in theory are your looks match, or with it personality match, or they're in the same uh social level as you, right? Even you two are not equals, right? Even then, uh, she's not attracted to you, right? It's the whole, oh, bro, if you're ugly, just date other ugly people. But that's not the case, right? Because even an unattractive girl is not attracted to unattractive guys, right? Because and even then, it's not even a really a fair comparison, right? Because the barrier to entry to be an attractive girl is so much lower than it is for an attractive guy, right? Basically it's easier to be an unattractive guy than it is to be an unattractive girl, right? Because it's like you're almost born an attractive girl, right? You'll at least be average, right? You have to actively work to mess it up and being overweight, by just an overconsumption of food, right? Eating more calories than your body actually needs to become overweight and unattractive as a woman, right? But as a guy, you can't just confidence your way into being 6 foot plus, or just grow your clavicles, bro, or just confidence your way into fixing your hairline, bro, or getting a better job, or having better facial harmony, or whatever, right? Whatever it is, like you can't fix that. A lot of the stuff that makes a guy, fundamentally attractive is stuff that you cannot change. Either you have it or you don't. You're born with it or you're not. That's just the way it is. That's just the sad reality, right? And so yeah, basically a girl sleeping with you, it's like you better, like you better not disappoint, right? Because it's like your only shot, and you don't want to lose that opportunity, right? So it's basically like an evaluation of your worth. It's like, you know, this is what this is like the culmination of everything. It's like you got one shot. It's like, don't mess it up. Imagine if you were homeless and you got one shot to make, you know, like to become a billionaire, right? You'd be like, I cannot mess this up, right? Like, what if you had to make, like, I don't know, like a free throw shot, and you're a homeless guy, and it's like, if you do that, you'll be a billionaire. It's like that guy, a homeless guy would be like psyched out of his mind, right? He'd be anxious, like he's got to make it. He's never played basketball. Maybe he has when he was a little kid, but now he's like 40 years old and homeless on the streets. Hasn't played basketball in decades, but he's got to make that shot, right? Because everything is hinging on this moment. It's just the exact same situation, right? It also said, like, sexual interest is rare if it happens at all. It's fragile and easily lost. You know, in middle school, early teens, most people who later feel sexually relaxed get at least some signal, a crush liking them back, flirting that goes somewhere, someone initiating with them, or even just knowing they could be chosen. You didn't get that. And then, that's what I said. Your nervous system learned sexual interest is rare if it happens at all. It's fragile and easily lost. This creates scarcity framing. Scarcity turns play into pleasure. So, yeah, it's like basically, yeah, it's like, how can you, right? Because it's not even just a mindset thing, right? It's a lived reality. It's like, I just can't think, oh, yeah, bro, I get tons of pussy, right? I just can't think like that. Then, just shift your mindset like that, bro. It's like, it's just not true. because no matter what I do, it's like I can't just magically make myself think, yeah, like all these girls love me, bro. It's like, what girl, right? It's like, come on, be real. It's like I can't, even if I were to think, oh yeah, I'm very attractive and women love me. It's like I'm not a loser and I get tons of pussy. It's like that I can't, that just coping so hard, and that isn't gonna change anything, right? It'll just be like the delusional guys that think they're attractive but aren't. It'll be like the Bob guy from was it that Rich Cooper stuff, or you know the Yad pickup artist stuff, where it's like these guys that you anyone with eyes can tell these guys are not attractive, right? They're not. The women don't desire them, right? That's just easy. Anyone with eyes can see that. But even if they can think they are attractive and desirable, but they're just not. Just plain as day. Like, it doesn't take a genius, right? It's like it's obvious, but still nothing changes, right? Just because they feel, oh yeah, like the Bob thought, oh yeah, I'm an alpha male, right? It's like, my wife has to listen to me, but she didn't, right? It's like she still is not attracted to him, right? And probably doesn't respect him, and is almost kind of probably to some extent disgusted by him, right? It's like him feeling that way about himself, that he's an alpha male or whatever, doesn't actually change anything. Cause what your own opinion of yourself doesn't actually matter, right? Cause we don't live in a bubble where it's only yourself. We live in a society where you have to go out and interact with other people, and how other people treat you and how other people feel about you, you know, impacts your life. That's basically what actually matters, right? Like I said, I don't, and the whole, it goes into the whole, you're the product and women are the buyers. The product doesn't get to choose its value, right? The buyer does. Just because I don't know, you know, it just doesn't. It's like like I don't know, some beverage that tastes disgusting doesn't get to. It doesn't matter if the advertiser says, oh yeah, it tastes amazing, right? What they say doesn't matter. What the actual what the buyer thinks is what actually matters, right? If it tastes disgusting, no one's gonna buy it after their first time of trying it, right? So it's the same thing. If a woman sees a guy and she's not attracted to him and labels him unattractive, then nothing else matters. That's the end of it, right? You just because that guy suddenly thinks she's wrong. I'm not unattractive. I'm actually very attractive. She's gonna be like, she's gonna laugh at you and say, "Okay, buddy," and then walk away, right? It doesn't change anything. It's a cope when guys are like, "Oh, bro, no." She's gonna be like, "Oh, well, actually, why is he so confident? Now I have to go find out, right?" No, that's a cope. you know, uh, it just cope all the time. You know, another one, right? Let me just read this kind of word from word. Sex becomes a verdict, not an experience. Early rejection wasn't just no. It felt like no explanation, no feedback, no redemption arc. Your brain filled the gap with it must be me. I mean, to some extent it is always going to be me, right? Cuz who else is there to blame, right? It's your genetics, right? It's like even if it actually isn't directly your own fault that your genetics are not ideal, or deemed as not good enough, right? It still is your fault, your fault, right? You can't change it. You can't do anything about it. You didn't have a say in it, but at the end of the day, it's still your fault. That's kind of the other brutal black pill, right? You didn't have any say in it, but it's still your fault. So sex isn't about pleasure anymore. It's about proving a negative belief wrong. And that's the bad part, right? It's like what I said. It's like I hate that I'm right about everything, right? It's like I'm right even about things I don't want to be right about. And it's like basically it's like you better be good at sleeping with her, right? Cuz if you're not, it's over. It's like you're one shot. You got one shot, bro. It's like, don't mess it up. And, but it's like, how can you almost not mess it up? Because it's like, the odds are stacked against you. Either she's got to be super nice and generous and willing and understanding and all that stuff, or, you better just get lucky or whatever, right? It's like, or I guess you just better have a big D and compensate that way, right? But, the funny thing is, when I talked to Chat GPT about that, because I thought it'd be funny, right? It always copes. People say, oh, bro, it'll just tell you whatever you want. But no, it always copes and tells me, that D size doesn't matter. When I think that is kind of, maybe I'll talk about it in a different one, because this one has actually gone on pretty long for not like reading it word for word. It always talks about how D size is in a thing, right? That's not a problem. But I think the D pill is almost one of the bigger black pills. Because, like, think about it. Even if you are facially and height wise good enough, what are you gonna do if you actually got only like a 3 inch, was it a non bone pressed D? What are you gonna do then, right? Like, at that point, it's over, right? Because even if women want to sleep with you and want to be with you, what are you going to do then? When you will always be her smallest partner, right? What are you going to do then? At that point, it is basically over, right? And, people will cope and say, oh, bro, just go down on her with your tongue, bro. But I think that's a big cope too, right? Because if that was truly enough, wouldn't women just be lesbians? Like, she wants to be with a guy, not to be, be tongued down, right? She wants to be deed down, right? Because, like I said, she'd just go with a lesbian or do it with her, or just take care of it herself if that was enough, right? But no, she wants the male anatomy. That's why she wants to sleep with a male, right? So it's like that's why I think it is definitely a cope to say, oh, size doesn't matter, bro. It's like, it definitely does, right? Maybe we could say, we can take a neutral stance to say, sure, you don't need to be, like a foot long, right? But you definitely do. You definitely cannot. It's one of those things where it's like, you don't need to be gigantic, sure. It's like, you don't need to be perfect, but you can't be not good enough. That's the thing. I think that's a big thing with women, right? Maybe you don't have to be perfect, right? Because maybe we can take that neutral stance, right? Let's not be too delusional and think, yeah, it's chatter over, right? But because, like I said, you can go to Walmart or whatever and see that not every guy with a girl there is going to be a Chad, right? Or just anywhere, right? But you can definitely not be not good enough, right? That's the real thing. You don't have to be perfect, but you just can't not be good enough. And that's the sad reality. Some guys, no matter what, they'll never be good enough. So yeah, so every sexual moment silently asks, am I enough? Am I desired or tolerated? Will she regret choosing me? Unfortunately, she probably does. Is she comparing me to past men? That turns sex into a trial. Trials require passing criteria, metrics, thresholds. And I guess to some extent, everything. Every single dating experience is a trial if she doesn't deem you as very attractive, right? If you don't meet, maybe you meet the minimum looks threshold, but maybe you don't meet the her Chad threshold, right? If you don't meet that threshold, then dating is basically a trial where you're trying to prove that you are enough, right? Because basically you're basically trying to prove your innocence, right? Because you're guilty until proven innocent, not innocent until proven guilty. It's that way with if you're not a Chad, I guess, right? If you don't meet the minimum threshold for her to be considered a Chad, right? Because it can vary from women to women, right? Which is why your mind obsesses over size, performance, duration, reactions, whether she's actually into it. You're not trying to enjoy sex, you're trying to avoid confirmation of a lifelong fear. And that's the case for everything, right? Every rejection basically confirms that that I was right. I was right about stuff that I don't want to be right about, right? It's like, what kind of guy, some guy will be like, "Oh, bro, you just change your mindset, bro." It's like, why do you want to be an incel, right? You're just trying to you're proud of being an incel. It's like, no guy wants to be an incel, right? But at some point you just have to accept reality and kind of wake up and accept it, right? There's not really a way around it. Like I said, I hate being right about stuff I don't want to be right about. But this is one of the things that I'm right about. That every rejection basically is a confirmation that that I do not meet the minimum threshold for a woman, right? That I am not good enough. Because if I was good enough, she'd want to be with me, right? That's just plain and simple. What woman is going to want to pass up on a guy that she thinks is actually amazing, right? None. But, so, by that logic, I am not good enough. I am not deemed as amazing or whatever for any woman, right? That's just the reality of the situation, right? That's the brutal black pill. If I was good enough, I would have already had a girlfriend. I would have already been chosen. Yeah. Middle school is when social hierarchies first become visible, looks suddenly matter, girls' attention becomes selective, cruel feedback is unfiltered, and rejection feels like a verdict on your identity. So, if during that period you repeatedly experienced no female interest, being invisible or mocked, watching certain boys get get attention effortlessly, your brain did what it's designed to do. It built a model of reality to reduce uncertainty and pain. That model was, this system is rigged. I'm not chosen. There's something fundamentally wrong with me. That's the black pill. I already read that. But yeah, it's basically true, right? It all comes back down to that. That's the TLDR, right? The system is rigged and it's not good enough, right? Not everyone can be good enough, right? It goes back to the concept of a winner and a loser, right? Someone has to lose for there to be winners. If there was no such thing as unattractive men, how could there be such thing as attractive men, right? That's impossible. There has to be a point of comparison, and that's the bad thing, right? Someone's got to lose, and unfortunately, that someone has to be me, right? Or probably you too if you're watching the video. But yeah, it's just the brutal reality. So yeah, that's kind of it. So this one, it's gone on kind of long enough. I didn't expect it to just go on for almost 40 minutes. So yeah, that's it for now. Later.